Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Because I want to do this one a little bit differently than we have any of our other lunch and learns. I'm glad to see a lot of you turning your camera on here. Um, Instead of just putting your name, position, organization, and location in the chat, uh, while we wait for people to join, why don't some of you who feel so inclined introduce yourself over camera and microphone? This is all about partners today and hearing from you. I realize I gave you no order to go in, but anyone jump in.
I'm Lisa Ullman, Chief Operations Officer for Forward Service Corporation. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
My name's Deanna. I'm an employment and training specialist with the state of Wisconsin. I work at the Menasha Job Center.
Fantastic.
I'm Robin Mainhardt, and I work for Northwest Connection Family Resources. We're the child care resource referral that serves the top portion of the state, 14 counties and 7 tribal communities.
Wow. I heard Brian's voice pipe up.
I did. Brian Covey, Director of Operations at Forward Service Corporation. It's really great to see you all here today.
Bethany Miller, First Development Board.
Hi, I'm Beth Gaitan. I am a regional literacy consultant with Wisconsin Literacy. So we support adult learners around the state, and some of them are W-2 clients. So we do some cross referrals.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
Great.
I'm excited to be on today. Thanks.
Yeah. It was great to finally put some faces and voices to the names I see month after month. So it's great to see you all. It looks like people are still trickling in, so let's give everyone an opportunity. Those of you who've joined, we're just kind of doing a video introduction this time. It's going to be more informal than our normal lunch and learns and info sessions. So if you're so inclined, I'd love to see your face and hear your voice and get a actual introduction from you and your organization. So.
I am Nathan Stahl, and if you can't tell from my background or my shirt, I work for Forward Service Corporation as well, and I'm a program coordinator.
What area, Nate?
Yes, sorry. We call ourselves Region 5, so it's Dane County and then the surrounding counties around Dane County.
Very cool. Glad you could join us today.
My name is Erin Ditchite. I'm the fraud coordinator at FSC. I am based out of the Portage office, but I work from home full-time.
Very cool. We'll just give another minute or so here, but as you all know, I'm Landon Solano. I am the communication specialist, a communication specialist, and a team of great communication specialists here at Forward Service Corporation. And I host these lunch and learns, as well as put together the newsletter with our team and many other online activities that you see around. I see Amy is our social media specialist. She's on. I'm not going to force you to introduce yourself, but glad that
Sorry, we got construction going on next to my house, so it's a little noisy. But yes, I am Amy. I am also a communication specialist with Forward Service Corporation as well. And I do a lot of our social media. So if your organization is really involved on the online scene, feel free to reach out to me and we can maybe collab on some really awesome events to really get the word out about our services that help people.
Or if you want to get into
discuss that later, of course. So
if you want to get into social media and don't know where to start, we'd be happy to have a conversation as well. So
I'm not going to hijack.
maybe not right now, but down the line. But all right, well, let's get started. Hopefully people will want to participate and introduce themselves as they join. So I said today is going to be a little more informal than normal. Our speaker today are hopefully all of you you know me, I'm Landon Solano. I already introduced myself, so I will avoid doing that now. But want to mention here, I put this slide up every month. If you ever have any questions about the newsletter, about our Lunch and Learns, if you have any feedback, I provide these slides every week. Please feel free to use my email, reach out to me. I'm happy to, provide any assistance that you might need, technical stuff in joining these, or if you have any ideas or feedback, we are always open to taking this into account as we're developing the 2024 season. Always, my door is always open. So please use my email if you should need. Want to mention real quick, we are jumping right into 2024. I thought maybe we'd have a month off, but we're ambitious, we're eager, we want to get to it. And so in January, we are putting together our first of the 2024 virtual info sessions. It's going to be about understanding ABOD work requirements. I'm not the expert on that, so I will wait until next month, but it is a specific work requirement for people within food share, SNAP, the Wisconsin Quest card recipients, all of that. We'll get to understand what that is, define it, and better understand the importance of it in January. So we hope you can join us then.
Landon, can I just say one thing? So
Yeah.
if you see ABOD, if you're not familiar with that, it stands for able-bodied adults without dependents. And they're a special category for people receiving food share.
Thank you, Brian. I should have known that. I've been writing that all week in the next newsletter that's going to go out. So I should have defined it myself, but
we talk in a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, we do.
In our industry.
Okay, as usual, a video of today's session will be provided to you this Friday, along with a PDF of today's slide deck. I think this particular slide deck might be of interest as we go through some of the questions. We have 3 prepared questions for us to discuss today, but certainly open to any questions you might have that you want to throw out there. I'm gonna just take some notes while we discuss them. So hopefully we'll have a nice, robust set of ideas that I can share with us all on Friday. And of course, a list of our FSC offices in case you want to reach out to your local office for some services, make referral, have any questions, etc. All right. Well, the mission, I hope, at this point of FSC, we are, dedicated to providing service to clients where they are in their particular journey. We meet them on their own terms and treat them with respect and make sure that we try to get them what they need so that they can earn not only the job that sustains them, but the job that they want. We don't talk a lot in these lunch and learns about dreams, but we want them to really, we want to help them open the doors to start to visualize what they can actually do beyond their immediate situation. So we hope that you understand we want the best for your clients. We want, we all serve the same people. So please bookmark fsc-corp.org if you want to refer to us in the future. Here is a quick overview, just the questions that we'll be covering today. We'll go more in depth in them in just a moment, but this is the jumping off point. How do we better connect with each other in the moment when either of us are with a client that we can both serve? How do we stay on top of mind for each other? How do we better communicate so that the burden doesn't fall onto the client? How do we overcome disruption to communication when there's a staff turnover and on either side? And what are some of the best methods for getting partner resources and information to your staff? So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of where we'll start, but I want to introduce Lisa Oman, our Chief Operations Officer here to just kick us off today. So Lisa.
Thank you, Landon. Oh, I kind of forgot I had that picture. I like that color hair. I might have to try that again. First of all, thank you all for coming today. I know when I've been able to join, I have certainly enjoyed these opportunities to learn more about the resources and help that is out there for to assist those that we all serve. The topics have been relevant for many of us serving clients, and I want to thank each and every one of you for all you do to help people get connected to needed resources and assistance. And our partnerships with all of you, I see DVR is on here, and we work so closely with the workforce development boards, and it's just great to have all of these resources in one place. I really appreciate your willingness to come together and create a space for us to share, learn, and most importantly, a space for us to better serve clients. Excuse me. I want to give a special shout out to Landon. He definitely has been instrumental in making this a safe space to have discussions and ask questions. And I want to thank you for that, Landon, because you certainly make it easy to have conversation. Today, we would like to ask a few questions and gather your feedback to improve our Lunch and Learn sessions in 2024. I think we've created that space to come and share and learn, but now how do we put that into action, and how do we really help to improve the services getting to the client as fast as possible? So our first question today, as Landon shared, is about how can we all better connect with each other in the moments when we're sitting with a client who needs a referral or resources. So we'll start with that question.
I just wanted to say something at first. Robin Mainhart with Northwest Connection Family Resources. I'm not here because I serve any particular clients with some of the programs that that you have talked about. My reason for being on these is to make sure that as I'm working in the childcare community, that I'm not missing something that I can't, possibly say, oh, I heard about that from Forward Service, and I think that I can, give you a referral there, or send you there, or give you their contact information. And that's really why I've thought that, especially since these are virtual and I can easily get on, I work from home, I can easily get on and learn about the different types of programming that you have. And I think that's my main reason for being on. Many years ago, we had more community groups of people, and I was right on that. I was on a local group with Forward Service Corporation, and it really provided a lot of information for me to be able to share with people that I worked with. So not necessarily in direct service, but just as listening and knowing what's going on. So that's why I'm here.
Appreciate that, Robin. I know I've recognized you from the little participant box for the last year or so, popping in and out of some of these. So always thankful that you're here. I don't want to deviate from the question we're on necessarily, but since you brought it up, is there a way that we can improve how we provide you information, resources, in addition to the slides or the recording, that would benefit you in some way?
I don't really think so, because I think that as I'm listening, I'm kind of, tucking that information, in the back of my brain, and thinking that if it comes up in conversation or when I'm working with someone, then that at least I know, at least I've heard it. I may not certainly know everything about it, but at least I know where to go. And that's really, what I'm thinking is that I know who to go to for that type of service. So, yeah. So no, I think, and especially having it in, on a, a recording that I could go back and I could listen to it if I didn't catch something. I think that's really helpful to me to be able to go, because I don't always catch everything, because I don't know. This is certainly not my field of expertise, and I don't know all about it. So it's just nice to be able to have the resource and to just be able to listen for the information. So.
I don't want to keep putting you on the spot. I'm going to ask you this, but it's going to be opening it up to everybody. When you put it in the back of your mind, do you have any methods or ways of recalling when you need that information? Whether it's FSC or another partner, another resource, one of the speakers that we provide. How do you know in the moment what resource to use?
And this may sound, I keep all those emails, and You know, so I can go back to my Forward Service Corporation emails and I can take a look and see, was that a topic that was covered under there? So by having that information, I can go back and get it if I, you know, if I need to bring it back up and don't remember, you know, specifics. So. And of course, if I don't remember specifics, then I'm going to just put somebody in touch with you and say, I think I heard that at one of those meetings, you know. So yeah, so it could work that way too. But yeah, I know I'm not relying on my memory to remember a whole, you know, a lot of stuff, but I do keep the emails, so I do know what the topics were, so that I can bring them up in a recall if I'm looking for something. So
that's great. Yeah. We are working on getting all of these lunch and learns up on our website for a kind of library of resources that you can search by keyword. I did take my first I took my first note, which is make sure I put the keywords of the topic in the email so you can search it easier.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or comments on any of that?
Hi guys, I'm sorry I couldn't unmute myself earlier when you guys were doing introductions. I work with Deanna, who had introduced herself earlier. We both work out of the Menasha Job Center with the Department of Workforce Development, Job Service in particular. And I specifically work with trade adjustment assistants or TAA participants. So I do have a number of them co-enrolled in the WIOA program with Forward Service staff. And in terms of your question, how do we better connect with each other when we're with a customer? I just so appreciate that once again, now we have a point of contact who is on site in our job center, because just knowing that they're there, if we need to pop our head in to ask Forward Service a question, or if we ask them, hey, do you have a moment, you know, if you can stop down by my cubicle because I have a customer that I want to refer. It's just that in-person contact seems to make so much of a difference with making the customer feel comfortable, and for us to be able to feel more comfortable asking questions and just having a healthy dialogue if we're doing a referral.
Sorry, could you pronounce your name again? Is it Diana?
Sure, Diana. Yes.
Diana, okay.
Yeah, there's a Diana and a Deanna.
Deanna, okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah, I might circle back because I think that's a good point.
Yes.
That on another question in the in 1 or 2 questions from now, I might want to circle back and touch base on that because the idea of the in-person or the personal connections, I think, is something we hear echoed all over the place. So that's very interesting, and the convenience of having it right there for you, I think, would be beneficial. Unfortunately, that's not the case everywhere. So how do we bridge that gap in the areas that we aren't, you know, in the same location? Does anyone on the FSC side have any thoughts on what has worked for keeping partners and employers in mind when we are trying to connect our participants with resources?
Hi, I'm Randall Ruleford, Program Coordinator with Forward Service Corporation. Landon, I would like to share, especially within our care network, having one main contact for multiple different resources, I think have been extremely beneficial for those across all different counties. Having working virtually, well, hybrid, virtual, and of course, in person, a lot of times some of our clients in which we're serving, maybe not directly right from the county in which we're housed, but rather, you know, outside. So really having the care network for us, for FSC specifically, to be able to go in to really help our clients across the state, and having those one main point of contacts have been extremely beneficial for us and our case managers.
This is a good question. How many of you are working or have staff that are working hybrid? I see quite a few hands going up.
Yeah. That's an interesting point too, yeah. It's
convenience, but it also adds a new layer of complexity, I think.
Right. Well, that I think brings up an interesting question. If I could dig in a little bit more specifically to like materials, and when you're in the moment with one of, you know, the people we serve, is it physical collateral, flyers, handouts that are more successful in being able to talk to them about our programs or any programs or partner resources? Is it website stuff, specific landing pages that you can email them or text them? Because I would imagine working from home, you're not always going to have the benefit of, walking them down the hall to, one of your partners, or what do you find to be helpful to being able to connect them to resources?
Don't be afraid to step in the spotlight.
I'm going to say website just because that's important to me, but go ahead, Cheryl.
So I work with the high school graduates, and some of the times trying to connect them to resources. I've used my experience from being an adult education navigator and working with the W-2 and all of that. But for me, I did struggle, so I will say that, but it's helpful. Like, I know the regions of where the job centers are, region 1 through 6, and I know what's there. And so having that experience of already trying to find resources for people in the W-2 program, I kind of have that pre-knowledge. But it would be helpful if it was easy to find, like, the job centers or where each of the FSC offices are located. I'm sure it's out on SharePoint. I kind of struggled with it a bit, but I don't know if all of our partners have access to the same database that we have in our TTS, because that's huge. That would be really great if it was public, because then we can go, oh yeah, so you need some WIOA. Who handles WIOA? Because I know in Rock County, Forward Services doesn't handle WIOA. So how do I get to WIOA? I could search the website, but I'm kind of impatient. I would prefer to be able to be connected with that information within 30 seconds or 6.
Yeah.
And again, I know I'm really impatient, but I think that somebody should be able to find their information on a website rather quickly.
Yeah. I will say from the FSC side, we are improving all of our service location search and filter functions to make it a little bit easier, and there'll be more information on each of those pages. I do see in the chat, someone just put a website for the job center locations, which is nice, and I'll include that in the follow-up materials. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cheryl.
No, and that's okay. I just think, in the TTS, we've done a great job collaborating and collecting all that data. And so it would be great and I know the 211 is really great, and I've called that, and they're like, oh, well, you need this number. So I called that number, and it was just another roundabout circle of get this, get that, get that. And so I find that if I was a participant, I would just choose to not get help because it's frustrating. But
and that's precisely what I think we're trying to avoid and find new solutions for, ways that we can more, to touch on everybody's point, connect more one-on-one to avoid throwing them into a kind of faceless cycle.
Yeah. I don't know if that helped or hindered, but that was my experience.
Well, it got us the job center location website, so appreciate that. Thank you, Bobby. Let's move on to the next question here. If I can get to the screen, there we go. And we've been touching a little bit on this already. I maybe should have swapped these around, but we talk about the one-on-one connections with each other. And we've heard this a lot about having those one-on-one connections is great, but what happens when there's staff turnover and suddenly the one-on-one connection on either end of that, someone leaves? How do we overcome the disruption to communication when that happens? Does anyone have any thoughts or methods that they use for tracking when they last spoke to a partner or checked in on a partner resource, how they stay in touch with an organization beyond just the single point of contact they have?
I believe this actually just happened, where
Oh.
a forward service staff person is no longer with forward service. And the way I kind of sensed that was happening was because I was emailing that staff person and it was being returned as, you know, yeah.
Undeliverable.
And, yes, undeliverable. And I was a little confused. But then I was in a different meeting where I heard this individual identify themselves as being with a different organization. And I would just say, we still have, at least for our workforce development area in the Fox Valley region, we still have a main point of contact that is not that person, that we send referrals through and things like that. So it didn't disrupt it in that way. However, I think it would be helpful if when we know that a staff person is leaving or has left, if a general communication could come out and just say, hey, if you were communicating with them before about XYZ, here are the different points of contact now in that interim period. Just so that we know what's going on, because I actually at first thought I was typing the wrong email address before I realized, no, this really is the right email address. So, and I know that's a lot to ask of organizations because things change. But I would just say for everyone, not just forward service, if something like that happens, if something can come out, just identifying, at least for that region, that this change has happened and therefore this is your alternate point of contact, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But that's something we could build into a process.
I've experienced that myself in trying to book speakers, where you know we have someone come back that was here the year before and suddenly they've left. But I in one or two instances I have like had an auto email pop up saying, hey, I'm no longer with this organization, fill in, contact this person now, which I've done, and then they were gone, but I got the same email, and eventually a string of them got me to the right person. But it was helpful and avoided a complete drop off of communication. So I think that's a good point. Thank you, Diana. What about more consistent like presentations? And this is going to segue a little bit into the next question. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but in terms of, we have the main point of contact between offices or programs, organizations, but making the rest of the staff aware through presentations and letting them know ways that they can contact us. Would you find more interactivity that way to be helpful to make all staff aware of what's available to them?
I would just say the more information, the better. And whether that's on your website or whether that's a mass email that goes out, or I think, I can't remember if it was Robin who had said it earlier, that we may not keep something top of mind, but if we know where to find it later, and we have that in our email or something like that, that's just very helpful for us to know, so that when we need it, we know it's there and we can locate it.
What type of information? Like if you were looking at it, you could prioritize the most important information that you wanted to refer a client, what would that be?
In our area, at least in the Fox Valley area, we know that we know the mailbox to send referrals to and what information to send. So we're very lucky. Prior to having that information, we were a little lost because there was a change in contracts, as always happens with WIOA. And so there was a brief disconnect for a period there. We weren't sure how to make referrals, but once that was set up, and I believe it's set up as a mailbox, if I'm recalling, so that it's not a specific person. So if that person changes positions or something along those lines, that shouldn't interrupt it. But I think having a setup like that is just very helpful.
Thank you.
What about on our FSC end? I know there's a lot of resources that we reach out to. Does anyone have any thoughts, good, bad, other, about the trials and tribulations of overcoming staff turnover? Either, maintaining and understanding our available resources on our end to reach out, or turnover on the partners end? How do we maintain contact with everyone?
I need to quit talking, but
no, please.
Since no one else is,
yeah.
I would just say, you have this communications link. You send us emails, and we share your information with our coworkers that come on board or other partner agencies that come on board. And so I think this is really an excellent tool. Certainly if you were able to maintain something on your main FSC website too, and as you said, posting, some of the historic seminars and things like that have been held is great as well. But this is a great tool for us, and we really appreciate you doing these events and having this opportunity for individuals to come together in this way.
Fantastic. Well, I'm always happy to do them. Hopefully we can. We have no plans to stop. So, and I forgot to mention that on Friday this week, when I send the follow-up email, I'm going to send a playlist of all of the lunch and learns that we did this year. So you'll have access to them all. You can see all the topics. You can see my hair grow from month to month. But hopefully that will be a good resource until we get those situated on our website and a library that we can use. So, all right. Anyone have any other thoughts about this? Because we can transition to the next question, which I think is.
Can I ask a question, Larry?
Oh
so
yeah,
when
please, of course.
Yeah, when you're talking to a client, what types of information do you think they appreciate most, so that whatever referral you're making actually goes through? It sounds like one of the big things is being able to connect with a real person. What type of information are they looking for? What usually makes them feel comfortable?
I can answer that. And I'm just going to answer the previous question too. So Landon, you had asked about like, how do we keep track of like who we've contacted recently and stuff. And in our team, we actually, it is part of the expectation that we are on a weekly basis right now, but I mean, that time frame can change, but we are required to go through the list of resources per domain and find out who's still active and who's not. And it's really just more about that connection of like who's still in the position that they were last time that we talked to them. So, I mean, sometimes it just comes down to making it a priority and a top of the mind task. So that's my 2 cents on that one. And then the other, I'm actually working with right now who, what I find for them is that if they know the resource is actually going to lead to something. So in other words, I will put my feelers out first and ask, do you have this funding available right now? What would you need from the participants? So I do some of that legwork for them, and I know that makes it way easier for them to actually access that resource, because I hear so often from my participants, well, I've already called them and they said they didn't have that. I've already asked them. They, and sometimes it's how they ask, what they ask. Maybe they didn't really make the phone call, but say they did. So I think in that regards, that's probably the most helpful, is knowing for sure that that resource is going to lead to something.
Yeah,
and
that's
not
great
on
point.
a rabbit trail.
And then obviously Bobby put a
Yeah, I was just reading
comment
it.
in there.
Okay, so participating in local activities and team meetings, crucial to build the relationships. That makes sense. And we would love to know if there's anything we can join, in terms of that. If anyone has meetings or activities, local activities that we can partner with or engage with, please reach out, let us know. Sending out the regional or the local offices is the best way to, I think, get in touch with us to let us know what's happening in your area. So we would love to be part of that. And then, if it's possible, we'll capture it and we'll put it on social media, celebrate together what we're doing for everybody. But yeah, and I just want to touch back on Heather. I think that was a good point too. I just thinking of, if someone were to do the legwork as to whether or not Spectrum can lower my monthly bill before I hop on a 2-hour conversation with them, would save me so much time. So I can't imagine, you know, participants and people that we serve knowing and not having the time or the mental resources to be able to just hope that they hop on a phone call and it's gonna, you know, be fruitful for them. They might not, that might be the only time they have in the day to make one phone call, and if it's going to lead nowhere, that's got to be disheartening. So I think that's a very, very good point.
Do you find? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, I'm
No.
gonna you go first, Beck.
Yeah.
Well, I'm coming from a different field, but
That's
I know
great.
for our adult literacy agencies, referrals can be challenging just because we're not in this, you know, the workforce world every day. And when we talk to our learners who are potentially your clients, the things that they want to know immediately are requirements, but a lot of the way requirements are listed, I think it's folks don't understand. They don't always know what programs, the names of programs or
Yes.
things like that. So we're working with a lot of immigrants and refugees. And so materials in really plain language or plain English that just say very clearly what documentation you need to be eligible, or, you know, things like that. I would say that's probably their first question. And then I do agree, it's so helpful and it's so much more useful when we have a person that we can contact. So I know like Nathan, Literacy Network, it reaches out to you directly sometimes, and that's really helpful when there's a person that we can talk to and do that warm handoff. And I always have folks from FSC come to, I do a regional meeting every spring, and so they come and they are amazing and talking with our member agencies and answering questions and explaining everything, so our folks understand better so that we can then explain as best as we can to our clients.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Brian,
Along those,
go ahead.
No,
Nope,
you go
I'm
ahead.
done. I was going to transition, so please say more.
Okay. And I know we're completely off the topic of question number 2 on the screen. I apologize, but
That's okay.
I would just mention too, and this may, sometimes I'm, of course, like anyone else, I'm not staying on top of everything, so I don't know when things change. But when I was on your website yesterday, I had noticed that for the WeTap program, it had said that basically funds are all allocated at this time. There isn't availability for new customers at this point. And something like that, something that large, if we could receive that as a communication so that we can share that with our customers and not make a referral that's inappropriate then at that point, and share it with, you know, partners, whoever else might not be in on that communication link. We just had the benefit of we've got a wonderful family self-sufficiency coordinator for Oshkosh Winnebago County Housing, and she does a meeting every so often, and she had shared with the group, or rather one of the attendees had shared, for example, that the WERA funding, they were no longer accepting new applications, and that was news to many of us. So these groups that we have, I think this is a great time for that information sharing, and particularly if it's something that's affecting availability of what we assume is still a potential service, like the WeTap program through Forward Service. If we can receive that in an email through this communication, that would be helpful. And I apologize if we did, because I missed it.
No, that's
But you never, I mean, just so we're staying up on it, because we are constantly referring different people to different programs. A lot of them are FSC programs these days. So something like that would also be a benefit for us to have that information. And then kind of piggybacking on what Beth had commented with having some basic information to share. I know when we had our kind of a meet and greet when Forward Service started providing services in our area this summer, one of the things that we had requested, and I know this is a challenge and not an easy ask, but was to have a piece of paper, a flyer that basically just rattled off very simplistically a list of all the potential services that could be available in our area, and not listing it by program, not support to communities, not, blah, 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 but just listing off the potential for service provision in plain language. As Beth had commented, so that we could provide that in hand to a customer when they're coming into our job center resource room or when we're in an appointment with them. The website is great. The website is really great, but we have a lot of not very tech savvy people or people who get very easily overwhelmed. And having to go to a website to look for information can sometimes be just one more thing they're not going to remember to do. But if we can, circle this on a piece of paper, hey, you need some help with some car repairs or whatever the matter is, and then have that be a lead in to them making that connection to forward service, I think is helpful if we have a document. And we weren't able to establish that yet, but that's still an ask that we would have. And I realize it's different per region. And it would be difficult to maintain. But again, if it's just a list where it's saying very heavy on potential list of services, I think that would be very helpful for us to be able to offer to our customers.
Okay. I think we just got it approved. So
You guys have been working on it.
Well,
okay,
we have
that's
been,
awesome.
Yeah, we have been working on it.
Thank you.
It was a little
It's good to know.
complicated.
Well, I trust me, I can imagine. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, as we're getting long on time, we've got about 15 minutes left. I want to just transition to our final question, which we've been touching on a little bit here, but ideas about getting information to your staff, the rest of you. I imagine some of these organizations, that you work for, you are one of many. How do you take this information if only one of you are attending a lunch and learn, or only one of you are a point of contact, with another partner organization? How do you get the information to the rest of the staff to let them know what's available? Does anyone have any best methods that you use, or just methods in general that you've tried?
At least in our area, whoever attends the meeting, it's kind of their responsibility to then share or disseminate the information. Thankfully, though, since you do have this feature where you're sending emails out, whatnot, we invite others to be added to the list. We forward information to them. So as long as there's somebody who's taking the lead in a given area, I think they're going to be pretty good about sharing that information. But if you don't have that leadership in a given area, then yes, it's going to be more challenging.
So do you find it helpful to have like the follow-up email to forward to your staff, or the newsletter, which we're hoping to put a little more information beyond just the invites to these things? And
yes, yeah, it is helpful, and having a topic on there that's emphasized. So if we're doing a search in our email to find something, we can readily bring that up. Those are all wonderful aspects.
Great. Anyone else have any thoughts? How do you communicate with your staff about available resources? To throw a scenario out there, if someone, one of your coworkers is meeting with someone, and you have attended you've met with a partner, you have a relationship with a partner that could benefit their participant, or their, the person they're serving. How would you, well, I guess how would you know to contact, but how do you stay in communication with your staff to make sure that you all know in the moment what is available to each person they're serving? That's kind of an impossible question. I realized it was just free flowing off my brain, but
all right, I'll just kind of add in. Sorry,
yeah,
I
please.
kind of came in late into the meeting, so I think I know what's being talked about.
Okay.
I apologize about that. So for me, typically I do a WeTap presentation. I know, Diane, you kind of mentioned WeTap, and I do it for all my regions. And in the WeTap presentation, I don't just talk about WeTap. I sort of also talk about JAL and how JAL combines with WeTap. I also talk about AFSAT. I also talk about W2, because different programs can do kind of different things. like driver's license recovery, like JAL, you can use the money to put down towards the deposits towards a different, like a higher loan for a vehicle. So I talk about all of those things, and that's how I personally incorporate how other programs can combine to help a participant out, you know, get a car or get a repair, depending on what they need. So I typically do a presentation to different organizations, the details about WeTap, and then I usually follow up with an email that has WeTap facts that keeps workers in that organization on the same page as me so they can print it out. I usually also give out a WeTap contacts for different mobility managers that handles different counties and flyers for that. So I'm not sure what county you cover. You guys work for, because I usually cover Northeast Wisconsin. I don't cover other counties. Just to kind of answer how I also give out resources, just you know, for FSC as well. And I'm also very aware of other transportation programs in my area, so I also may talk about, you know, how we all advocate for each other.
So you're advocating for other partnerships to the
Right.
in your presentation
Yes,
to others,
because,
but it's also internal.
Yeah, because I mean, we all run out of funding, you know, towards the end of the year. So there's absolutely a need out there. So if one of my participants is like, look, Mary, I really want a higher loan. They're looking for maybe a $5,000, $8,000 loan. I will tell my participants, go to this program. Advocate can give you like an $8,000 loan, you know, so that's how I advocate for other transportation programs as well. But if they just say, no, I prefer to go with your program, you know, we can only give out up to like 3,500. That's kind of like what we average. And then, you know, if a participant can be eligible for two programs such as JAL and WeTap, they can still get a higher loan. I sort of guide them into how they can get a higher loan for that. So they could possibly get a $5,000 loan if they combine and are eligible for both programs. So I educate myself to know resources within FSC and also outside of FSC. So then that way, when participants come to me, I know how to maneuver and guide them towards different programs that can help them either get a driver's license, if they want money down towards you know, like a car, maybe they're getting from a dealership that we can help. I'll refer them to JAL, because JAL can be used for that. So I think as workers, I think it's really important that we become knowledgeable about resources. Like for me, it's very transportation focused. So I kind of know different programs that can help with driver's license, that can help with registration, title, you know, and I kind of guide the participants to which program that can help them with that.
Well, one thing you said earlier that I think would help, or you tell me, I guess, if you find that it helps, is the repetition of information. I mean, you present it, but then you provide them a follow-up email, you provide them materials so that it's just constantly seeing it. You know, I would imagine all of us experience information overload at certain points, but having it repeated over and over in different types, different forms, in different places helps you to retain that. Oh, I might not remember all of the details for JAL or WeTap or, you know, whatever programs might be out there, but I remember that had a list of transportation services on it. I can go to that. Do you find that repetition to be helpful in helping people remember who to reach out to?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Fantastic.
just a big yes. A big yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, and yes, for me, like, you know, people are not gonna, I usually, my presentation is about an hour. I take my time presenting about WeTap and allowing people to have questions and answer the questions. And I also tell workers, so normally how I connect to other agencies is because someone is reaching out to me about their participant, you know, so someone from a different organization will reach out, Mary, I'm trying to help my participant with their vehicle. So I take advantage of those opportunities and I say, hey, look, you know, would your company be interested in a WeTap virtual presentation? That way your workers are well informed so that you know how to best help your participants when they're in this situation, such as transportation needs. I said, if so, let me know. I can do a virtual presentation. And majority of the time, maybe about 95% of the time, they will be good with a WeTap presentation. I've seen it's where they just said, no, just do it without team leads, and the team leads will get it to their workers. Or I have had situations where anybody who's interested in the company to hear about the WeTap presentation would come into that presentation. So I've done both. And I just find that really useful for me personally, because they're speaking to a source. Like they're not hearing from someone else, they're speaking directly to me.
Yeah.
And then that's why I also provide these sheets afterwards, because they're not going to remember all that information. So the sheets typically just tells you the 2 services we provide. It tells you the counties we serve. It tells you the eligibility list and what's the best method of referral. It's a 1-page sheet. And I tell all workers, please print this out so that whenever you talk to a participant, you can refer to this sheet. So you're giving the correct information. And if you have questions at any time, email me directly, because I want to make sure that you're giving the correct information to your participants. And so workers do. And this is how I've established relationships with workers. They come to me about the participant. Mary, I have a question, and I like having that relationship with other workers from different organizations or companies. But this also happens within FSC and outside of FSC. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. I mean, sorry, I was taking notes too, because you're sparking ideas in my own head of how we can continue to provide up-to-date information to people and help supplement, what you're doing and people that do the presentations, both at FSC or, partner organizations, making sure that just everyone has up-to-date information. The facts, I really like that word you used, facts. Make sure that everyone has the same facts, because that seems like it can get lost in translation in a game of telephone from time to time. So thank you. That's very very provoking, mind-provoking information. So anyone else have any methods of how you talk to your staff about potential resources and partners? Otherwise we'll start to wrap up here. Oh, okay. Well, for those, I can't get my mouse to work here. For those of you who have stayed on, I have prepared a little poll, if you don't mind. If I can figure out how to launch this. We just want to know, these are all the topics that we did this year. If you could just do a quick vote, let us know which ones. I cannot see who votes for what, but if you could just let us know what topics you found most helpful this year. I'm also going to put a link in the chat if you want to do it in your own time. It's going to provide a few more questions to help us shape what we want to do for next year. So just take a look at what's on the screen, vote on the poll that comes up on Zoom there, and there's the link in the chat. I'll give you a few seconds to take care of this. It's the only question we have here. So
I also wanted to comment, and I don't know if it's just me, but when I went on the FSC website earlier today, and I was actually looking at the transportation end of things, and there's the button where it'll say learn more. When I clicked on learn more under the job access loan, the JAL section, I got that great 404 page not found.
Okay.
Whoever's in charge of the website needs to be punished.
Or it's my computer being crazy, but everything else I was clicking on the FSC site worked.
Okay.
But I kind of hit a dead end there, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, Diana, I noticed the same thing today, because I was getting information out for JAL and WeTap, and then same thing happened. So, and that was this morning.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me, because I thought, what is going on?
I'll take care of that as soon as we're done with this call here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting us know. All right, I think we will end the poll there. Really appreciate everyone answering that. Oh, if you want, here I can share the results. How about that? Okay, thank you. We hope that you'll still take the time to, there's no question and answer, should have taken this slide out, but we'll hope you take the time to answer the Lunch and Learn feedback link that I provided as well. There's a few more questions in there. Really, really helps us understand how to shape these for the next year. And just want to mention, while I have you all who's left, we are going to be shifting days and times next year from Wednesdays at 11:30, which is what we've been doing, to Thursdays at 11. So you won't have to drop off at noon for your lunch break. We're going to get this tucked in before you break for lunch. And we have heard from everyone, or a lot of people, that Thursdays tend to be a little bit better to schedule these. So just wanted to give you that update. We will certainly make the announcement in the next newsletter. This is the feedback page. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you're following us on social media. You could just search for Forward Service. This is our last time using this slide deck, so we're going to be removing Twitter/X from that next year. But any other place you can search for us at Forward Service Corporation, and please follow us there. Not only for yourself, but for resources for your participants, people that you serve. Lots of cool stuff going on over there. So, and thank you, Amy, for taking care of all that. Okay, thank you so much for everyone who's participated. I really, really appreciate you willing to engage, and that I get to put names and faces to names and voices to names. It's been great. I feel like I'm talking to a vacuum sometimes, so really, really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, and you'll be hearing from me on Friday with a follow-up to all of this stuff. So thank you so much. Hope you all have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in 2024. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.